Hi and welcome. I'm Kate from Nancy's Notions, and today I'd like to show you how easy it is to create your own chenilled fabric. This soft, highly textured chenille starts with fabrics and machine stitch channels. The only specialty item you really need is a chenille cutter, and it just makes cutting the chenille fabric so much easier and much faster. And I'll detail this in just a minute. I'm working on a rug project, and you'll see in process in a moment. It starts with a canvas backing, and then we're also using 4 layers of fabric in this case, and one of those layers is going to become our base that you'll see from the front, and the remaining layers become the chenille. Now, you don't have to use just printed cottons. You can use all sorts of different fabrics. Just do a quick test first, see if you like how it chenilles. But rayons make beautiful scarves and shawls, very soft drape. And then if you use a softer, gauzy kind of cotton in layers, those create beautiful, fluffy, cuddly baby blankets or throws, even pillows and rugs. All right, so let's start with layering our fabrics. I'm going to just review our layers. I have a canvas back. This is going to be the base or the backing of the rug project that I'm working on. And then I have just 4 layers of cotton fabric, and these are identical, so it'll give a nice rich color, and I've just layered them. One thing you might find helpful is using a very light temporary adhesive spray between the layers of the fabric. Just that light tack will help hold all those layers together, which will help both in the pinning process, which I'll be doing next. We're just going to space the pins out about a fist or 5 to 6 inches apart all the way around. And that spray will also help keep these layers nice and even when we're doing our stitching. Once you have your whole project pinned, you're ready then to draw a single guideline. And I'm going to be drawing a 45-degree line. That's going to go across the fabric, and it will make it very easy for us to start our stitching. So with the 45-degree line along the edge of the print, I'm just going to draw this guideline. And I'm using a pen that is wonderful on darker fabrics, but it takes just a moment or two to appear. So if you don't see that white right away, just wait a minute. It'll appear. It comes out as a liquid. So once we have the line drawn all the way across our project, we're ready to set up the machine for stitching. I'm using a walking foot. This is somewhat of a specialty foot that really helps feed all these layers evenly underneath the foot as you're stitching those channels. Then also put in a new needle. I'm using an 80-12 top stitch just because I have the canvas base and the 4 layers of fabric, but using a quilting or universal needle will work just as well with a lighter weight backing or base fabric. And then I have coordinating thread. I've chosen a kind of a darker turquoise because it looks great with this fabric, and then set the stitch length for between a 2.0 and a 2.5 stitch length. That gives a nice close stitch and really will secure all those channels once you've done the chenilling process. What we're going to do as I'm stitching, you'll see I'm using the presser foot edge as my stitching guide. I don't need any extra lines marked. Your first row of stitching will be right on your drawn guideline, and every row after that you're going to use the presser foot as your stitch guide. You're going to run the presser foot edge right along the previously stitched row, and if you want different sized channels, simply move your needle position. Once you finish stitching, you're ready for chenilling. Well, I've done some stitching, not all of it yet, but I really wanted to show you the chenille process. Our next step is going to be kind of pre-cutting a channel between each of the stitched lines, and this will make it very easy to insert our chenille cutting tool. So I'm going to count down my 3 layers. I do not want to cut into the canvas or that very first layer of fabric. I want to leave those intact completely. So I'm just going to cut about 1 inch in on the top 3 layers of the fabric, and I'm going to cut just a few channels and try to keep your cut kind of centered between the stitching line. Okay, we have a few cut here. Now let's take a look at the tool. I'm using the Make Chenille cutter for this project because it's a wonderful compact shape and it's got a variety of different size options built right in. You'll notice that there are 4 different feet at the base, and those are sized to fit into your different slots or your different size channels that you've stitched for your chenille fabric. This red arrow will move your blade to one of the 4 feet or slots, opening it up. As you can see right now, at the smallest plate or foot, I have the blade open. We're actually going to use one of the larger slots, so I'm just going to move the dial and one more turn, and we have the extra large. Then you'll also notice there's another arrow on the dial, and this is in correlation to the blade itself. Now you're doing a lot of cutting and going through a lot of layers of fabric, and that's going to dull your blade somewhat quickly. So just turn the dial to get to a new section of the blade. Your blade isn't actually rotating as you're cutting, it's staying stationary. So by rotating the dial, you're going to get a new part of the blade exposed in that slot there, and you'll have easy cutting. We're ready to start the chenille process. And I'm going to just peel back those 3 layers that I pre-cut, slip my blade in, always cut away from you, and it cuts like butter. And we're going to do another one. Just slide right across. That foot slides right in the channel, right between those stitched lines. And yes, you will get some thread buildup. Just carefully pick that out or use little tweezers. Don't ever get your fingernails in that blade area because that blade is still really sharp. And we'll just have fun cutting. And you can see how easy it is to cut all these channels. Once I had all my channels cut, I'm ready for the washing and drying process. They go through the washer and the dryer. Just throw a pair of jeans or extra towels in for extra fluffing action. Be sure you check your dryer lint collection because these do leave a lot of lint, so make sure you clean those out periodically through the process. But that's what causes your chenille to bloom, is all that activity. So this is what it looks like, beautiful fluffy channels. To finish our project, we added a binding, and then you can also get free instructions if you like this project by clicking the link below. I'd like to show you a few examples of other chenille projects that just have a wonderful look and feel to them. If you want a really beautiful, fluffy baby blanket, try chenilling on both sides. Here we have a base fabric that's kind of a multicolor, so you can see a pattern through, and then it was just layers of white, almost a gauze that was used. So it gives this really wonderful reversible quality to it. Here's another blanket. If you want the most absolute cuddly sort of blanket, use flannel as your backing fabric. Here we use the bright colored side on the reverse, but then the wrong side of the flannel is allowed to show through, and that works just beautifully. And with this bright colored cottons, you have just the softest blanket ever. And don't forget denims. Denims can give a fantastic looking texture with all their dyes, and the different weaves really makes it fun. This was actually stitched and cut in a chevron pattern. A little more challenging to cut, but really great fun. And this would make a fantastic pillow top. So I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about chenilling your own fabric. I know I've really enjoyed it. It's a wonderful process to watch fabric become even better fabric.